Now, the Steinways you will find in China are made in the Hamburg plant. While at the New York factory, I sat down with Steinway & Sons CEO Ronald Losby, who is a pianist himself who studied at Juilliard. The brand is celebrating 12 years in China, and I began by asking him about the company's strategy there.
So the concert halls represent a great opportunity for us, and we're availing ourselves of that over the last 10, 12 years in a very big way. But the consumer portion of it really is perhaps the most exciting, because we don't brand over there as we do with used instruments elsewhere. And as the middle class emerges into a more affluent society, because of this extraordinary love of Western music in particular, and the fact that taking piano or violin or music is not something that's optional over there. It is part of the educational curriculum. That is produced of piano hobbyists, a lot of great artists, obviously, a lot of pedagogues that will go on. So the trajectory in China, they're not, I think, ever replicated in history as to what the opportunity is for a company like Steinway & Sons in China.
What would you say is your biggest challenge in tackling the Chinese market?
Well, we have several challenges. First of all, it's a big country. So finding distribution, particularly away from the coastal cities, which has a lot of cultural affluence, into the center of the country and further west has been a challenge. The other challenge that we have is we've grown so significantly and so fast in the last 10 or 12 years, finding good quality piano technicians to work on our pianos is a big, big issue for us.
What does having the endorsement of Lang Lang do for your business?
I can't even describe the value that he brings to Steinway and that he brings to music. He's a different breed of a classical pianist. I mean, I won't call him a crossover pianist, but he kind of is in a way, in that he's made, you know, Chopin, Brahms, Beethoven, Bach contemporary and cool. And the way he dresses, the way he interacts with the audiences, he's not some old guy with white hair and all you see is his profile and he walks up and he plays and he walks off stage. He engages in a very proactive way, and that has, you know, struck a chord, to use a phrase here, with so many young people in China that I believe he's inspired many to take the piano. So he is huge, not just for Steinway, but for the piano.
Many say the future of classical music is in China, where an estimated 40 million people are learning to play the piano. What would you say is its appeal there?
You know, that's a very good question. I think perhaps because it wasn't something that was available to them many years ago, we always seem to sort of want what we don't have. And what I think is so interesting, if I compare, for example, China to India, I mean, relatively similar population, they both have indigenous instruments that are not Western-based whatsoever, and yet in China they've adopted Western music just to an extraordinary degree, to where they have great institutions of higher learning that are teaching it around the country. In India, not so much. So what happened? Was it the influence of the French, of the British? It's a very interesting phenomenon that some anthropologist needs to explain if they haven't already.
You mentioned that the piano was not available to many people at one time. Under Mao, the piano was banned because it was seen as too bourgeois, as was classical music. What would you say is the government's approach to the piano now?
I think they're supporting fine music because they understand the educational value, and they understand that it's certainly a lot more valuable to have an experience with an instrument than sitting in front of a computer screen playing video games all day long. And I believe they understand that it does unlock your brain to learn more complex ideas and more complex theorems, because what you're learning when you're learning the music, it's not just learning how to play a song. It is learning an entirely different language. It's learning mathematics because of the values of the notes, and it lets you think more broadly about other subjects. So I believe that in China, they understand that this is something that helps their children become more successful.